Did you know that Georgia Tann was responsible for the illegal adoptions of over 5,000 children in the 1930s, making her one of the most notorious figures in American child welfare history? Today, we're going to dive into the dark and disturbing world of child trafficking and explore the scandal that shook the nation. Georgia Tann's name is synonymous with the worst of human depravity, and her crimes continue to haunt us to this day. So let's get started and uncover the truth behind this heinous scandal. Georgia Tann was a mastermind who exploited the vulnerabilities of the system, using her influence and charm to get away with the unthinkable. She presented herself as a savior, a guardian angel for unwanted children. But in reality, she was a cold-hearted manipulator who saw children as commodities to be bought and sold. Her actions were a stark reminder of the failures of the system and the devastating consequences that follow when greed and corruption are allowed to thrive. Before we delve further into this harrowing story, I want to let you know that we've created a line of true crime-themed designs inspired by these chilling tales. If you're fascinated by history's darkest moments, our collection is a perfect way to connect with the past. Check out our true crime designs at histoedutainment.com and find a piece that speaks to your curiosity. The 1930s were a tumultuous time in American history, with the Great Depression casting a long shadow over the nation. It was an era of great uncertainty, and many families were struggling to make ends meet. This created a perfect storm for someone like Georgia Tann to operate, using the desperation of others to further her own twisted agenda. As we delve deeper into this scandal, it's essential to understand the societal context that allowed Tann to flourish. In a time when adoption laws were lax and oversight was virtually non-existent, Georgia Tann saw an opportunity to capitalize on the vulnerability of others. She preyed on the fears and insecurities of expectant mothers, convincing them that their babies would be better off with more affluent families. The lack of regulation created a void that Tann was eager to fill, and she did so with devastating consequences. The central issue at the heart of this scandal is the fact that children were stolen from their families under the guise of adoption. This was a calculated move, designed to exploit the desperation of those in need. The lack of transparency and accountability created an environment where Tann could operate with impunity, leaving a trail of shattered lives in her wake. It's essential to understand that these were not adoptions in the classical sense. They were kidnappings, plain and simple. The process was often shrouded in secrecy, with Tann using her influence to silence anyone who dared to question her motives. She created a web of deceit, convincing mothers that their babies had died during childbirth or that they were unfit to care for their own children. The reality was far more sinister. Tann was selling these children to the highest bidder, often to families who were unaware of the dark origins of their new additions. The child welfare system at the time was woefully inadequate, leaving countless families vulnerable to predators like Georgia Tann. It was an era of gross neglect, with many social workers and authorities turning a blind eye to the atrocities being committed. This systemic failure allowed Tann to operate unchecked, leaving behind a trail of destruction that would take decades to repair. As we explore the depths of this scandal, it's crucial to remember the human cost of Tann's actions. These were not just numbers or statistics. They were innocent children, ripped from the arms of their loving families and sold into a life of uncertainty. The trauma inflicted on these families cannot be overstated, and it's essential to acknowledge the pain and suffering that they endured. Georgia Tann's methods were calculating and ruthless, designed to extract the maximum profit from her illegal activities. She would often target mothers who were poor, uneducated, and vulnerable, using her charm and influence to manipulate them into giving up their children. Once she had her sights set on a particular family, she would stop at nothing to get what she wanted, often using coercion and outright deceit to get her way. Tann's operations were a masterclass in manipulation, with her using every trick in the book to get what she wanted. She would often pose as a social worker, gaining the trust of her victims before striking when they least expected it. Her methods were so brazen, so calculating, that it's hard to comprehend how she was able to get away with it for so long. As we delve deeper into the heart of this scandal, it's essential to remember that these were not just faceless victims. They were real people, with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. They were families who were torn apart by the greed and corruption of one individual. The impact of Tann's actions was felt for generations, leaving behind a legacy of pain, suffering, and betrayal. One of the most disturbing aspects of this scandal is the way Tann used the societal context of the time to further her own agenda. She capitalized on the fears and prejudices of others, using the era's moral panic to justify her actions. This was a time when unmarried mothers were shunned, and those who were deemed unfit were ostracized by society. Tann exploited these fears, using them to justify her twisted ideology. The personal stories of those affected by Tann's actions are a testament to the enduring power of human resilience. There are tales of mothers who fought tooth and nail to get their children back, only to be met with silence and indifference from the authorities. There are stories of children who grew up with the knowledge that they were stolen from their biological parents, forced to live with the trauma of their past. The emotional weight of these revelations is crushing, and it's essential to acknowledge the pain and suffering that these families endured. This was not just a case of illegal adoptions, it was a systematic failure of the highest order, a failure that allowed one individual to inflict untold suffering on countless innocent people. The public outcry was immense when Tann's actions were finally exposed, with many calling for her to be brought to justice. The media frenzy surrounding the case was intense, with newspapers and magazines clamoring to tell the story of the notorious Georgia Tann. The emotional weight of the revelations was crushing, and it's hard to comprehend how one individual could inflict so much pain and suffering on others. The legal consequences of Tann's actions were severe, and she eventually faced criminal charges for her role in the illegal adoptions. However, it's essential to remember that the damage had already been done, and that the trauma inflicted on these families would take generations to heal. The legal repercussions were a small consolation to those who had suffered at the hands of Tann. In conclusion, the Georgia Tann scandal is a stark reminder of the darkest aspects of human nature. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating consequences of putting profits above people. As we reflect on the events that unfolded, it's essential to remember the human cost of Tann's actions and the impact it had on the families involved. Today, we honor the memories of those affected by Tann's actions, and we acknowledge the pain and suffering that they endured. We remember the countless lives that were destroyed, the families that were torn apart, and the innocent children who were stolen from their loving parents. The Georgia Tann scandal is a dark stain on American history, and it's essential that we learn from the past to prevent such atrocities from happening again. If you'd like to share your thoughts on the Georgia Tann scandal, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos on historical injustices and true crime history stories. Thanks for watching.